This page is the front cover of the August 1999 issue of Nintendo 64Dream magazine, volume 35. It highlights Ogre Battle 64, person of lordly caliber, with a large character illustration. The cover promotes 3 special bonus items: an Evangelion original poster, Nintendo 64 3rd anniversary stickers, and a letter from Giant Island. It also announces the start of the 64DD service from December 1st and features a section on E3 mentioning games like Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, and Jet Force Gemini. Other games listed include Mario Golf 64, Densha de Go 64, Winback, Covert Operations, Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, and GameCube J-League 1999, Perfect Striker 2. The cover price is 490 yen. The next page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game One Guy Monsters. It highlights the game as a monster-raising simulation with 500 types of monsters. The game was scheduled for release on April 9th at a price of 6,980 yen. A special campaign running from April 9th to May 31st is mentioned, where purchasers can win prizes such as a Color Game Boy, Pokemon Gold or Silver, and original One Guy Monsters goods. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Bokuju Monogatari GB2, which translates to Harvest Moon GB2. This advert highlights that the game is now in color and will be released on August 6th. It promotes enhanced gameplay features such as larger maps including towns, fields, mountains, ponds, and ranches, and introduces sheep in addition to cows and chickens. Players can enjoy minigames, events, and hidden elements, and use communication features to exchange animals and seeds with friends. The game lets you choose your main character's gender and select a dog or cat. The advert also includes screenshots showcasing the gameplay and introduces Aya Hirayama-chan as the promotional talent for the game. Her profile mentions she is a 23rd generation Hori Pro Talent Scout Caravan Grand Prix winner, and at 15 years old and in high school, she is addicted to Harvest Moon GB. The advert includes a website address for Aya's Harvest Moon. This page is the contents page for the August 1999 issue, volume 35 of the magazine. It lists the main sections, including That's Entertainment, an E3 Los Angeles report covering 13 pages, new software information, strategy information, and serialized planning. The Game Index lists page numbers for game features and reviews, including Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, Jet Force Gemini, Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers, listed as Bio-Violence Killer, International Superstar Soccer 99, listed as GameCube J-League 1999 Perfect Striker 2, Densha de Go 64, Winback, Covert Operations, Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, and Mario Golf. Other games mentioned in the contents include On and Off Racing, Kakuto Denshou, F-Cup Maniacs, Kiseki Monogatari, Guru Guru Garakutazu, Golf O, Konshu Hakase 2, and Rally 99. There are also sections for player questions, monthly news, and other regular features in the magazine. This page is a calendar preview for upcoming N64 game releases in July. It mentions that there will be 7 N64 titles released in July, and also previews titles for August. There is talk about 64DD software compatibility with cartridge versions, suggesting games like Mother 3 and Mario RPG 2 are highly anticipated for cartridge release, and more information on 64DD software changes will be revealed later. Rare is mentioned as possibly announcing a new title for Japan, speculated to be Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, or Jet Force Gemini. The calendar lists game releases including L-Tail Monsters on July 9th, Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber on July 14th, and PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64 on July 16th. Further in the month, Star Wars Episode 1, Racer is listed for July 21st, Kakuto Denshou, F-Cup Maniacs on July 23rd, GameCube J-League 1999, Perfect Striker 2 on July 29th, and Lode Runner 3D on July 30th. The Coming Soon section shows screenshots of Neon Genesis Evangelion for Super Famicom, alongside N64 games L-Tail Monsters, Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, and PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64. This document ranks anticipated and best-selling Nintendo 64 games. The most anticipated game was Mother 3, Earthbound 64, followed by Ogre Battle 64 and Densha de Go 64. Other notable titles include Kirby 64, Super Mario 64 2, cancelled, and Paper Mario. The top 20 also lists several Japan-only releases and cancelled projects. The top 10 best-selling games include Pokemon Stadium 2, Super Smash Bros., and Pokemon Snap. Other popular titles are Jikyo Powerful Pro Yakyu 6, Japan only, Mario Party, Jikyo GI Stable, Japan only, Mario Kart 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Castlevania 64, and Jinsei Game 64, Japan only. Related her. Mario Party is highlighted for its fun minigames and board game experience. This page showcases the results of a reader poll ranking popular N64 characters in 4 categories, celebrating the console's 3rd anniversary. The rankings are presented in tables and include character names, their point scores, and the game series they are from. The first ranking is for the coolest characters, topped by Link from The Legend of Zelda, followed by Mario and Fox McCloud from Star Fox. James Bond from GoldenEye 007 and Mewtwo from Pokemon are also featured high in this category. The second ranking focuses on cutest characters, with Pikachu from Pokemon at the top, followed by Kirby and Jigglypuff. Purin, Yoshi, and Link also appear again in this list, alongside Princess Peach and Zelda characters like Marin and Sadaria. The gentlest characters ranking is led by Princess Peach, followed by Mario and Saria. Yoshi and Link are again in this list, along with Toad, Pinocchio, and Kirby. Finally, the athletic characters ranking is topped by Mario, followed by Link and Samus Aran from Metroid. Fox McCloud and Luigi also feature, alongside Yoshi, and characters from Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu, a baseball game series, Sheik, Ness from Earthbound, Mother 2, and Marin. The page highlights the diverse range of popular characters from various N64 games and reflects reader preferences in different categories. This page presents character rankings based on reader votes, divided into several categories. It starts with the strongest character ranking, listing Link from Zelda as number 1, followed by Mario, Mewtwo from Pokemon, Donkey Kong, Ganondorf from Zelda, Bowser, and Captain Falcon from F-Zero in the top spots. There is also a weakest but lovable character ranking, topped by Magikarp from Pokemon, then Goomba, and Kirby. The good personality character ranking is led by Mario, followed by Luigi, Yoshi, and Link. In contrast, the bad personality character ranking is headed by Wario. There's a section focused on brotherly love ranking, highlighting Mario and Luigi's relationship. Finally, a popularity ranking by series and characters shows the Super Mario series at the top, followed by Zelda and Pokemon, and Mario as the most popular character, followed by Link and Luigi. The rankings suggest reader opinions on character strength, personality, and popularity within various Nintendo 64 game series. This page presents popularity rankings from a Japanese N64 magazine. The first, Scary, Too Scary, lists the scariest characters. Red and Ganondorf from The Legend of Zelda top the list, alongside characters like King Koopa, Bowser, Mewtwo, and Zombie. Evil! If you say villain, this is it! Ranked villains, with King Koopa, Bowser, at number 1, followed by Ganondorf and Wario. The final ranking. Ear character ranking 2, which character do girls want to marry? Revealed female reader preferences. Link from The Legend of Zelda was most desirable, followed by Sheik, Pikachu, and Mario. The text notes the survey was mostly male respondents, and playfully questions the suitability of a marriage with Pikachu. This page is a special report from E3 in Los Angeles, focusing on Rare games. Rare, known for titles like GoldenEye 007 and Banjo-Kazooie, is showcasing 3 big games: Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, and Jet Force Gemini. The page features screenshots from each of these games, alongside a large image of Donkey Kong himself, though it's noted his CG is from the Super Famicom game, Super Donkey Kong. The page highlights these 3 titles developed by Rare. This page is dedicated to Donkey Kong 64. It highlights the game as the latest in the Super Donkey Kong series, now brought into 3D by Rare, the original developers. The game features 5 playable Kongs: Donkey, Diddy, Tiny, Lanky, and Chunky, and promises expansive stages. There's a section called Ken Lobb Talks DK64, where he, a producer, discusses the game following its announcement at E3. He mentions this is Rare's first dedicated high-resolution expansion pack game. He talks about keeping the DK-ness in the gameplay, focusing on straightforward action and how the game volume is around 256 MB. The opening movie is mentioned as being a grand 6 minutes long. Screenshots showcase boss battles that are described as Zelda-like but with Donkey Kong's craziness, underwater stages, and minecart racing levels, emphasizing the variety in the game. The text also points out the Kongs using weapons like bazookas and having minigames like barrel blasting with crocodiles. This page is a preview of Perfect Dark, a shooting game in development by Rare for the Nintendo 64. It's described as a spy-fi shooter set in 2023, featuring Joanna Dark as the main character. The game uses the engine from GoldenEye 007 and expands upon it with a focus on mission-based gameplay and puzzle elements. The article highlights the story, which involves infiltrating a secret research facility from a skyscraper in Chicago, ultimately leading to a spaceport. It mentions that the game is designed with a complete original scenario and emphasizes action. There's a focus on player viewpoint shooting, with playable prototypes already showcased at E3. The page also details the multiplayer aspect, noting support for 14 players and compatibility with the Rumble Pack, High Resolution Pack, and GB Pack with Pocket Camera. Players can even import their faces into the game as custom multiplayer characters using the GB Pack. It mentions playing as gray aliens, in multiplayer and using the D-pad for commands. Kentaro PD from Rareware states that the single-player campaign is more immersive than GoldenEye 007, and the multiplayer is also well-crafted. The screenshots showcase various gameplay moments, including night vision, using submachine guns, and scenes reminiscent of Blade Runner. One caption mentions, "Somewhere Asian-like city," evoking the film Blade Runner. Another mentions, "Four-player battle is more refined than GE." The game is described as having weapons that can penetrate walls. This page is all about Jet Force Gemini. It's a shooting game by Rare, listed as unreleased at the time of this magazine, but compatible with Hi-Res and Rumble Packs. The page introduces the story, focusing on the heroes. Twin siblings Juno and Vela, a boy and girl described as Red Guy and Blue Girl, and their dog Lupus. They are part of the Jet Force Gemini team, protecting universal peace. The story is about battling evil insects, and gameplay seems to involve progressing through stages and freely equipping weapons found in the game. The enemies are indeed insect-like. The screenshots showcase in-game action, including shooting at enemies and using weapon-based attacks. One screenshot shows how defeated enemies explode into green liquid. There's also a section on mini-games. Apparently, there's a mini-game that suddenly appears on the monitor, described as a shooting game. It also mentions a race game within Jet Force Gemini that resembles Donkey Kong 64 when played in single-player, according to Rob, likely Ken Lobb, who describes it as quite addictive with radio-controlled car-like controls. The Rareware logo is prominently displayed at the bottom. This page is a preview for the game Star Wars Episode 1, Racer. It highlights the excitement of the game with the tagline, "May the Force be with you," and introduces characters such as Anakin Skywalker, Sebulba, and Odi Mandrell, showcasing their in-game models and pod racers from various angles like top, front, side, and back views. The page poses the question, can you get win? The Japanese text emphasizes the new legend and dream that Star Wars Episode 1 Racer brings. This page showcases the upcoming Nintendo 64 release of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, or Anakin's Pod Racer as it's also known. It's a high-speed, futuristic racing game based on the pod racing sequence from the movie Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace. The text highlights the game's release just 11 days after the movie premieres in Japan on July 10th, with the game hitting shelves on July 21st. It's priced at 6,800 yen and is a 3D racing game supporting 1 to 2 players. It also mentions Rumble Pack and backup cartridge compatibility. The screenshots show various in-game racing scenes, giving a glimpse of the fast-paced action and different environments you'll be racing through. The text boxes, alongside some screenshots, highlight the sense of speed mirroring the movie, the improved visuals with the high-resolution pack, and the presence of various characters including Anakin. This page showcases the game Star Wars Episode 1 Racer for the Nintendo 64. The page highlights the game's high-speed racing action across 20 different circuits set on 8 planets. It mentions that players will earn prize money by racing and can use it to upgrade their pod racer parts. The screenshots illustrate various tracks and pod racers, emphasizing the game's diverse environments and the need for skilled timing and techniques to navigate sharp corners. The page also recommends using the high-resolution pack for enhanced graphics, noting its release on June 18th and relating it to the Japanese movie release date of July 10th. This page is about Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, highlighting the two-player battle mode. It mentions that players can enjoy battling friends and competing for speed. The page showcases screenshots of races on different tracks, emphasizing the sense of speed. It also introduces 4 racers: eBay Endicott, Dud Bolt, Gasgano, and Elon Mack, along with top, front, side, and back views of their pod racers. The next page introduces the Nintendo 64 game Neon Genesis Evangelion. This action game, described as a mission clear type action, is for one player and was released on June 25, 1999. The page previews 2 missions. Mission 1, titled Apostle Attack, focuses on the player piloting Evangelion Unit 01 to battle the third angel, Sakiel. Misato gives advice, explaining that eating certain items will trigger Berserk mode, increasing attack power but making the Evangelion uncontrollable for a short period. Mission 2, titled Unheard Telephone, features a battle against the fourth angel, Shamshel. Misato's advice here is about using the progressive knife. She suggests fighting Shamshel hand-to-hand initially, and to throw the progressive knife when Shamshel climbs a mountain, as this will lead to a story-accurate development. The page also mentions that bullet guns are not usable in the game. This page is focused on the Nintendo 64 game Neon Genesis Evangelion, presenting gameplay strategies for missions 3, 4, and 5. Mission 3, titled Decisive Battle Neo Tokyo 3, instructs players on how to defeat the angel Ramiel. The strategy involves using the 3D stick to move the cursor and lock onto Ramiel, then firing with the Z trigger or A button when the cursors overlap. Misato's tips emphasize locking onto the target and hitting it. Mission 4, Man-Made Thing, guides players on stopping the runaway Jet-Alone robot. The objective is to prevent Jet-Alone from reaching a populated area. Instructions explain how to run and restrain Jet-Alone by alternating A and C buttons when chasing it, and using the 3D stick with A and C button combinations when restraining it. Misato's advice focuses on running and button coordination. Mission 5, Moment, Hearts Overlapping, is about battling the angel Israfel. It highlights the importance of inputting commands correctly when the green line passes through the red input zone. The instructions mention using the C button for commands, which are combinations of 3 C button inputs. Misato suggests practicing in practice mode to master the timing and commands, reassuring players that practice mode is there for them. This page is all about what to expect in future stages of a game, and it seems to be focusing on the characters that will appear. It mentions you should watch the video footage to better understand the game, especially if you're already familiar with the original work. Of course, they say fan-favorite characters will be appearing. The main game focus here is on Mission Evangelion, and specifically Mission 6, Magma Diver. This mission features the 8th angel, Sandalphon. The game description talks about how the mission starts in the Asama volcano crater, where the angel is found in a chrysalis state. To capture the angel, the player uses a D-type equipment unit. The mission involves descending into the volcano, and at what seems like a successful capture, the angel awakens and transforms, becoming incredibly fast in the magma. The gameplay section explains the controls. Use the 3D stick to find the angel, bring it to the center of the screen, and use the Z button to lock on. Press the C button with the input command shown on screen, with the N unit to attack, and B button to evade. The screen explanation shows elements like live picture, danger, pressure, HOMONOMORPHIC, and depth during gameplay. The description also mentions locking onto the angel to fill the EVA gauge, and then inputting attack commands that appear on screen. The next page details 2 missions, 7 and 8, from the Neon Genesis Evangelion N64 game. Mission 7, titled The Value of Miracles, features the 10th angel, Sahakiel. This angel appears in orbit and attacks Nerve HQ by falling from space. Evidence. Gameplay involves timing button presses to evade obstacles as Unit 01 ascends to meet the angel. Once in position, button mashing is required to support and attack the falling angel. The controls are explained for actions like timing button presses to overcome obstacles and button mashing for attack. Mission 8, Choice of Life, introduces the 13th angel, Bardiel. During activation tests, Toji Suzuhara's EVA Unit 03 is infected and goes berserk. The mission objective is to stop the rogue Unit 03. The text specifies that Shinji is not piloting Unit 01. Instead, a dummy plug system is in use. The controls shown are standard for 3D stick movement, attack, guard, grabbing, running, and AT field deployment. The screen layout is explained, indicating sync rate and remaining time on the left, and own strength and opponent strength on the right. The next page showcases 2 missions from an Evangelion N64 game. Mission 9, titled Battle of Men, features the 14th angel, Zeruel. The text describes Zeruel as the strongest angel so far, defeating both Unit 00 and Unit 02 and invading any RV headquarters. Shinji, who is initially reluctant, decides to pilot Unit 01 to fight Zeruel. Gameplay instructions detail using 3D stick and button combinations, and the screen view section shows the command prompts during gameplay. It mentions it's an adventure game type stage. Mission 10, titled Scream Human-like, features the 15th angel, Ariel. Ariel appears in geosynchronous orbit like a giant bird of light. Asuka is mentally attacked by Ariel, and Shinji in Unit 00, equipped with the Spear of Longinus, is tasked to attack Ariel. Gameplay instructions involve using the 3D stick to align the spear's trajectory with Ariel, aiming to get the X and Y coordinates to 0, then using button combos to break Ariel's AT field and pierce it with the Spear of Longinus. The screen view shows the targeting interface in the game. It mentions that the trajectory of the spear is shown in X and Y coordinates. The next page previews Mission 11 of the Neon Genesis Evangelion game on N64, focusing on the introduction of Kaworu Nagisa as a playable character, referred to as the 5th Children and the 17th Angel, Tabriz. This mission recreates the iconic battle against Shinji's EVA Unit 01 in Central Dogma, where Kaworu pilots EVA Unit 02. The gameplay is described as action-based, but with slightly different controls than previous missions, emphasizing reading enemy attacks. The page also details the operation methods, including 3D stick movement for forward and backward, A button for horizontal slash attacks, and combinations like 3D stick up plus A for vertical stabs. Defense is mapped to the B button, A plus B for grab attacks, and a rapid alternating press of A and C buttons for clashes. The game screen display is explained, noting that the health gauge is usually hidden, except during clashes. Kaworu's background is briefly touched upon, highlighting his appearance in episode 24 of the anime, his popularity, and his role as a key character who hinted at mysteries leading to the series' conclusion. The page encourages players to experience Kaworu's gameplay in this mission. This page is about the Nintendo 64 game Neon Genesis Evangelion. It seems to be previewing the game and focusing on the final stages. Mission 12, Air Front Edition, is described where SEELE's ultimate goal is to destroy Nerve headquarters, and Asuka is in Unit 02, facing a mental breakdown and attacks from enemy units. Mission 12.5, Air Rear Edition, focuses on the revived Unit 02, piloted by Asuka, now facing the EVA series. SEAL decides to deploy mass-produced Unit 9s from the sky. The question is posed whether Asuka can win against these enemies, even with her umbilical cable severed. The EVA mass production machine section details the EVA series secretly developed by SEAL, powered by dummy plugs, and with the name Kaworu written on the plugs. The text mentions that in the initial game settings, only easy difficulty can be selected. Clearing easy is necessary to progress further, and only on hard difficulty can you see the final stage. This page is about Mission 13 of Neon Genesis Evangelion, an N64 game that was not released outside of Japan. It highlights that in this mission, you'll be fighting against 9 mass-produced EVAs within the time limit. The game is described as diverging from the anime series at this point, offering an original storyline after the familiar TV series events. The page also mentions other modes in the game, including Story Mode, Simulation Mode, which lets you target and defeat enemies appearing one after another, and Option Mode for adjusting game settings and viewing polygon models. Additionally, the page mentions a limited edition T-card for the game that was sold for 1,000 yen at subway stations and other locations from June 25th, the same release date as the game. The article concludes by stating that this is the last page about Evangelion in this issue, encouraging readers to look forward to the game's release. This page previews Violent Killer Turok New Generation, which is the Japanese title for Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, on the N64. The game is described as being intense, and not just for kids, highlighting its violent action where you crush evil enemies. It mentions that worlds 1 to 3 will be guided with maps, and gameplay involves using powerful weapons in battles. The page emphasizes the fun of multiplayer mode for up to 4 players, recommending modes like Flag Battle. Screenshots show both single-player and multiplayer action, and it's noted that the screenshots use the high-resolution pack, with brightness set to level 8. The game is categorized as a survival shooting action game, supporting 1 to 4 players, and was set to release on June 18th at a price of 7,800 yen, requiring 256 MB of memory. This page for Violence Killer, Turok New Generation, known as Turok, Dinosaur Hunter internationally, is a level guide for Port of Adia level in World 1. It outlines the missions, which are to activate 3 rescue signals, rescue captured children, and find and defend the Energy Gate Totem. Available weapons in this level are the Tech Bow and Shotgun. The page uses map sections labeled 1A through 1H and 1L to guide players through the level, highlighting key locations, weapon pickups, and enemy encounters. It gives instructions on how to progress using R-Jump and warns players to look out for cages and enemies in corners, specifically mentioning the location of the last girl to rescue and energy totems. This page is about World 2 River of Souls in an N64 game. The fire section is titled Stegosaurus Weapon Go, indicating a dinosaur-like weapon is involved in this stage. The page features maps labeled 2E, 2F, 2G, 2H, 2I, 2J, and 2K, which appear to be different sections or levels within World 2. The MAP section indicates that the map shown is from the later half of the stage. The mission section lists objectives: destroy 2 gates, defeat 3 assistant characters, and discover the energy item, and survive. Available weapons for this stage are listed as Warblade, Auto Magnum, and Trunk Laser Gun. The text describes World 2 as being suddenly very difficult, advising players to use the Stegosaurus weapon, which has unlimited ammo and destructive power, to break through walls and obstacles. It suggests that if players proceed while destroying things, the path will naturally open up. It mentions that enemies are strong, so players should fight carefully. The text also advises that the latter half of the stage will become even more challenging, with stronger enemies and darker visuals, recommending players avoid close combat. The maps are annotated with tips for players, such as noting places where items can be obtained or areas where enemies are positioned. This page is a guide for World 3 Death Marshes from the Nintendo 64 game Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. It features maps of different sections of the level, labeled 3A through 3H, providing an overview of the environment and layout. The mission objectives are listed as rescuing the captured villagers, destroying the armory, and finding and protecting the energy totem. Available weapons for this level include the grenade launcher, plasma rifle, and shredder. Gameplay tips are provided, such as adjusting the brightness in the options menu to see better in dark areas. The guide also highlights locations of powerful weapons within the level, and mentions that the final map section, 3H, is the last map for this world. The text encourages players to follow the map order to rescue villagers and destroy the armory. This page is about the game PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64 for the Nintendo 64. The game is described as an Ultraman training simulation, where you collect and nurture Ultraman and monsters. You train them to become the strongest characters. The game stage is called Wakusei Ban, Planet Barn, where you use a support computer called Lin to give instructions to characters in various locations, conduct training, and have them play. The page explains map elements include buildings and terrain, with stadiums and gyms appearing for a limited time. You can acquire new characters at Gashapon Towers, and characters obtained in the Raising and Battle modes become card data saved in the museum. The game features mini-games where you can see your collected characters. The next page introduces the N64 game Ultraman Great Violent Battle. Set on Planet Burn, the game revolves around a daily ultra-great martial arts tournament. The story involves the Father of Ultra aiming to win to protect his planet, but a mysterious space criminal is posing a threat. The page details gameplay elements like character development by executing commands and finding gym to boost stats. It also explains battles where players earn skill points to level up and can earn money in stadium fights. A key feature highlighted is the GB Pack compatibility. By connecting a Game Boy GB Pack, players can transfer data from Game Boy games to unlock characters in Ultraman Great Violent Battle. The page lists compatible Game Boy games and the corresponding Ultraman characters that can be unlocked, including Zoffy from Pokemon Trading Card Game, Gaia from Tetris DX, Dinah from Pokemon Red, Father of Ultra from Tamagotchi, Mother of Ultra from The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, and Name Paragon from Street Fighter II and other titles. The guide shows players how to use the GB Pack feature, starting from the Gashapon Tower, in the game. This page is a preview of the soccer game J-League 1999 Perfect Striker 2 by Konami, set to be released on July 29th. The page emphasizes that players can experience the thrill of soccer with the latest team data from the 1999 J-League season. It highlights the various game modes available, including pre-season match for quick play with up to 4 players, the J-League mode where you can play through the 99 season with J1 and J2 teams, a tournament mode for knockout competitions, and a success mode, which is a key feature where you nurture a player from the youth team to the top league, similar to Power Pro. Other modes include PK for penalty shootouts, scenario mode offering preset game situations to play out, training to practice free kicks and other skills, and option mode to customize game settings and create original teams. The game aims to deliver realistic soccer action and is compatible with the controller pack. This page is all about the soccer game J-League 11 Stadium 97 for the N64. It highlights the game's feature of including all 26 J1 and J2 league teams, allowing players to choose from any of them, and even play preseason matches between J1 and J2 teams. The page shows a map of Japan, illustrating the geographical distribution of the different clubs. The page also details the edit mode, where players can create original players and clubs. In original player creation, you can customize a player's name, body type, height, weight, position, and distribute their abilities. The original club creation allows players to design their own team, choose a hometown, and select team colors, logos, flags, and mascots. Player transfers are also featured, allowing players to move players between existing clubs to create their ideal team. Finally, the page mentions a new feature called Vertical Screen View. This allows players to switch the camera view to a vertical perspective during gameplay, which is especially useful during set pieces like free kicks near the goal. The camera zoom and height can be adjusted in 3 stages. This page is a preview for the N64 version of Densha de Go 64, a train driving game. It highlights that this version is unique to the N64 because of its voice recognition system, VRS. The game features arcade and entrance modes. The VRS system allows for voice commands during gameplay, and the page lists some examples like reduce speed, train stop, and speed limit release. The game is set to be released in the summer of 1999 and will cost 6,800 yen or 9,800 yen with the VRS microphone. The game supports 1 player, the dedicated Densha de Go 64 controller, and the Rumble Pack. This page introduces the learning course and practice course modes in what appears to be a train driving simulation game, likely Densha de Go 64. The learning course is designed for beginners, with on-screen instructions and guidance from a train conductor character. The practice course lets players operate the train more freely under timed conditions, giving 999 seconds to play, with harder challenges and potential game overs for mistakes. The page also explains the concept of section passage, related to railway electricity supply. The bottom of the page announces a thorough introduction to Densha de Go 64 in the next issue. This page is a preview of the game Winback. It highlights the improvements made to the game, such as enhanced processing power, more detailed character models, and the addition of laser sights and other gadgets. The gameplay is described as thrilling, and the controls are simplified for easier play. The preview mentions that recovery items are now location-based, meaning you can't carry them around, which adds to the tension. It also mentions that sticking to walls is now possible, making the game more comfortable to play than previous versions. The game is described as a 3D gun action game for 1 to 4 players, with controller pack and vibration pack support. It is set to be released on October 1st, priced at 7,800 yen, and published by Koei. The characters featured are Jean-Luc Cougar, a cool and collected member of the SCAT Special Forces team, and Lisa Roberts, the heroine, and a bright and intelligent strategic battle specialist, also part of SCAT. The screenshots show in-game action with HUD elements and cutscenes featuring a commander figure. This page highlights the new features of a revised version of the N64 game Mission Impossible. It details 4 key improvements. Firstly, the maps have been enhanced to feel larger and more strategic, with added checkpoints that provide a sense of rhythm, and prevent the game from feeling too short. Real-time cutscenes are also incorporated at various points to maintain tension and suspense. Secondly, new gameplay elements or gimmicks have been introduced, such as laser tripwires and electric fences. These additions encourage more cautious and deliberate gameplay, as simply rushing in is no longer viable. Players must now strategically navigate and disarm these traps, significantly boosting the game's thrill factor. Thirdly, there are system improvements focusing on weapons. Previously, players started with only a London gun with unlimited ammo. The updated version now allows players to start with submachine guns and shotguns, offering a wider range of combat options from the beginning. Item recovery has also been improved, enhancing the overall game balance. Finally, the biggest addition is the introduction of 4-player versus battles. Previously limited to 2 players, the game now supports up to 4 players in versus mode. New battle modes, weapons, and stages are being developed for this mode, promising a more engaging multiplayer experience. The page emphasizes that 2-player battles were already fun, but the addition of 4-player mode will greatly enhance the enjoyment. The screenshots showcase in-game action, the character selection screen featuring characters like Jake Hudson, and also cinematic cutscenes. Telltale Monsters is a Nintendo 64 RPG following 10-year-old Jack's adventure. Jack, seeking the lost Book of Ether and his missing father, heeds the Spirit King's advice and travels to Darum Town. In Darum, rumors of the treasure of the thief in the castle surface, and townsfolk mention important items. Jack then journeys to the dimly lit Yanbat Forest, inhabited by goblins. The deeper goblins are powerful, and the entrance has 2 paths. The quest culminates in obtaining the Earth Orb from the Thief of the Great Earth. Defeating the thief yields the orb, essential for finding Jack's father, and signifies Jack's completion of the first part of his journey. This page is a guide on how to fight effectively in the game Blast Dozier. It highlights 10 methods for advantageous battles, focusing on active gameplay rather than just selecting commands. The page details various combat techniques, such as using magic attacks, which are effective at the right distance from enemies, direct attacks that deal damage based on timing and distance, and dodging enemy attacks by moving within the battle area. Escaping from battle is also covered, advising players to move outside the large combat area to trigger an escape. The guide also explains how to level up the main character, Jangyak, by improving skills like magic level through using magic in battle, hit points by taking damage, staff attack power through direct attacks, and agility, which increases by moving around during combat. It emphasizes that Blast Dozier's combat system rewards skilled play and strategic ability enhancement. This page is an introduction to the N64 game Rally 99. It details the course settings, highlighting that the game features 9 courses set around the world with diverse natural environments. The page showcases screenshots of each of the 9 courses with their country flags and brief descriptions. These courses are Australia, Spain, England, Italy, Brazil, France, Germany, Canada, and America. For Australia, it's described as a simple outback course with long straights. Spain's course is paved, emphasizing grip driving. England is noted for poor visibility, suggesting players should memorize the track. Italy's coastal course features many curves. Brazil is muddy, recommending drift techniques. France is a hilly area with no guardrails, requiring caution to avoid going off course. Germany has bad road conditions, suggesting moderate drifting. Canada is snowy, advising gentle acceleration and braking. And America is set in a valley with wide roads, encouraging dynamic, speed-focused driving. Game information includes the title, Rally 99, publisher Imagineer, release date August 6th, and a price of 6,800 yen. It's a rally game, supporting 1 to 4 players, and compatible with rumble packs and controller packs. This page highlights the game On and Off-Road Racing for the N64, a brand new racing title from Imagineer. It boasts both on-road and off-road courses with branching paths, offering a wide variety of racing experiences. The game features 10 cars in total, including 8 standard and 2 hidden vehicles, across 6 diverse courses, supporting 1 to 2 players. It's also compatible with vibration and controller packs. The game is described as having an American visual style, promising exciting and dynamic races. The page also details a championship mode, likely within the game or a related title. This mode emphasizes strategic racing across 9 courses, where players must manage vehicle damage to the suspension and engine, and be mindful of tire wear. It stresses that simply being fast isn't enough to win. Careful driving is key. A highlighted car is the Volkswagen Golf GTI MKIV. Noted for its lower top speed but tighter turning due to being 2WD, positioning it as a rally-ready kit car. This page is a preview for the N64 fighting game, Kakuto Denshu, F-Cup Maniacs. The article highlights that this is a sequel to the previous Fighting Cup game, and was released from December 1st to 6th in 1998. The text describes the visuals as greatly improved, focusing on the backgrounds and character graphics. It mentions new playable characters are being added to the roster, bringing the total to 6 new fighters. The screenshots showcase in-game action and display elements like counter and aerial, confirming gameplay mechanics. At the bottom, 2 new characters are introduced. Kate, described as a supermodel who excels at quick attacks and knee strikes, and Federico, the strongest mad doctor, rumored to be a human modifier with a hidden past. This page is about the fighting game Kakuto Densetsu, F-Cup Maniacs, which translates to Fighting Cup Maniacs. It highlights a new point system where players earn points for knockdowns and other actions to win, instead of just depleting health. The page mentions a mystery mode for learning new skills and moves. It also introduces 2 new challengers, Adriana, a samba dancer, and Dixon, a street brawler. The screenshots show in-game action with the point system and command lists. The game is described as a new evolution in fighting games on the N64. This page is a preview for Lode Runner 3D on the Nintendo 64. The article highlights the transition of the classic 2D game into 3D. It mentions that the stages now have depth, moving beyond simple left and right movement, requiring players to explore the foreground and background. The game retains puzzle elements, now enhanced in 3D environments. New gameplay mechanics are introduced, such as shuttle discs for moving between platforms, and dangerous pits, which are magma hazards. The game is described as requiring players to think from various angles to clear stages. The game information panel on the right side of the page details. Title: Lode Runner 3D Publisher, Banpresto. Release date: July 30th. Price: 6,800 yen estimated. Capacity: 64M. Genre: Action puzzle. Players: 1. Notes: Rumble Pack compatible. This page is about the N64 game Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers. It's presented as a mystery adventure game where the protagonist, Dill, is trapped in a tower by the sorcerer Lakmir. The page highlights the puzzle-solving aspect of the game, emphasizing the use of items to escape. The screenshots show gameplay environments and item interactions. One section discusses item usage, explaining that items are shown on screen and can be broadly categorized into tools and books/documents. The page gives an example puzzle where you need to place items in a shelf based on clues related to human figures. It mentions that correct item placement triggers mechanisms and allows progression to the next floor. The text hints at the game's story, describing Dill as trying to escape the tower and facing various puzzles and mysteries. It also mentions that the tower is filled with classrooms and library-like rooms, suggesting diverse environments within the game. The game is described as focusing on item usage and puzzle solving to clear the game. This page is about Pocket Monsters Gold and Silver, and announces a release date change to early September. It mentions that Lugia, who is scheduled to appear in the movie, will also be in Gold and Silver. New trainer characters are introduced, a kimono-wearing girl, and a boy. The girl's kimono pattern is even like a monster ball. A new Pokemon called Elekid is revealed and described as an electric type. The page also highlights the new box system, where you can now name your Pokemon boxes, with an example of a box named Papo Daisuki, which means Pidgey Lover. The next page is an announcement for Fire Emblem, Thracia 776. It's showcasing new character illustrations and expanding on the world of the game. They're teasing new characters and asking how they will be involved in the story. The page mentions that they are revealing 5 new characters and that their names and profiles were not yet finalized at the time. There are character descriptions with arrows pointing to each one, such as, a long-haired woman wielding a bow. Will she be an ally? Quote. A slender sword-wielding woman. A sword-type character? Quote. A man with a dignified mustache. He seems to be of high status. And, a man riding a horse. Is he a knight type? There's also a section titled Yapari Atazo Katujiju, which translates to, as expected, there's a combat skill arena. It mentions that the combat skill arena is back from the previous game, where you could train characters, and it seems to be included in this game as well. The game is listed for Super Famicom, with a planned release date of this summer at the time of publication. The next page spotlights 64 Hanafuda, Tenshi no Yakusoku, a single-player table game for the N64 that was exclusive to Japan. This article introduces the story mode, where you can enjoy 3 types of Hanafuda games: Oichokabu, Koikoi, and Hana Awase, as you progress through the narrative. The page details how to play Oichokabu, which involves adding up card numbers to get close to 9, and Hana Awase, a game of matching flower cards. It emphasizes the gambling aspect and how enjoyable the game is, especially when playing against opponents. Screenshots illustrate gameplay moments of both Oichokabu and Hanawase, showcasing in-game characters and card layouts. The next page is a sticker sheet commemorating the 3rd anniversary of the Nintendo 64. It features various character stickers of Mario, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox McCloud from Star Fox 64, Link from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Banjo-Kazooie, and Bowser, all celebrating the anniversary. There are also logo stickers and dedicated sections for controller pack and game cartridge stickers. Game titles mentioned at the bottom include Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, Evangelion, L-Tail Monsters, and PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64. The Ogre Battle 64 section includes character art, suggesting stickers related to that game are included. This page is a sticker sheet commemorating the 3rd anniversary of the Nintendo 64, dating back to June 23, 1996. The sheet features a variety of N64-themed stickers, including circular designs with Mario, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox McCloud from Star Fox 64, Link from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Banjo-Kazooie. There are also stickers of the N64 logo and celebratory 3rd anniversary text. The page also includes sections for controller pack stickers and cassette top stickers, with spaces to write on, and featuring characters like Wario and Mario. Below these are stickers promoting the exciting large-scale Ogre Battle Seal, showcasing characters from the strategy RPG Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. Finally, at the bottom there are promotional sections for Neon Genesis Evangelion, L-Tail Monsters, likely a reference to the Japanese-only release Elan Dori and monsters from similar games, and PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64. This page is the From Letters section of the magazine, featuring reader submissions and responses related to Nintendo 64. The page is titled Dream Entertainment Club and dated August 1999. The main topic is the announcement of a new Nintendo machine, presumably referring to the GameCube, although it is not explicitly named. The article discusses reader reactions to this announcement, with one reader from Mia Prefecture mentioning the PlayStation 2 announcement and questioning if Nintendo's worldview will change with DVD media. The editor reassures that DVDs won't negatively impact Nintendo's direction. The page also includes an illustration corner showcasing reader-submitted artwork and comments. One submission from Shiga Prefecture features a character from Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, praising the game. Another from Nagano Prefecture is for Eternal Felena, a Super Famicom RPG, mentioning it would be great if it came to the N64. There are also illustrations for Mother 2, Earthbound in English, from Saitama Prefecture, Smash Bros. From Gifu Prefecture, and Tenchi Suzu, Terranigma in English, from Hiroshima Prefecture, with readers expressing their enjoyment of these games. The editor mentions receiving many letters, and apologizes for not being able to feature all of them. They also mention a previous error in page 73 of the May issue regarding hidden characters in a game. The next page is from the 64Dream magazine and features a meeting commemorating the 3rd anniversary of the N64, although it's mentioned that the meeting isn't directly related to the anniversary itself. The main topic is a gathering of women working in the games industry to discuss their experiences. The page introduces 3 women with pseudonyms: Ono Komachi, a PR person from a game company who is currently enjoying the wrestling game WCW vs. NWO World Tour; Cleopatra, a game magazine designer who is currently playing Silent Hill; and Yukihi, a game magazine writer who is into Pokemon trading card game on Game Boy Color. The article details that they started by watching game openings together, specifically mentioning Star Fox 64, Final Fantasy, and Tekken. The discussion then moves to the future career paths of women in the games industry, and whether women seek empathy in games. There are also side sections, including a humorous love consultation corner, and a monthly feature on alcohol, this month highlighting Wild Turkey whiskey. The GameSoft fan club section covers Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, with the magazine anticipating its release after Ogre Battle. Sample ROMs have arrived, promising details in the next issue. The Thracia 776 Prediction Great War section lacks screenshots, but features illustrations of new characters with temporary names like Tanaka Makoto, Inokuma Jiro, and Yokota Kordi Hikaruo. The article humorously notes their reliance on placeholder names and predicts finalized Japanese names. The This Month's Person/Finn section highlights the popular character Finn, noting his second-in-command role, sense of justice, and fan appeal. Fans are suggesting voice actors, and Finn is confirmed to be active from the start, similar to his role in Sacred War. The article ponders Finn's weapon choices, and humorously names his horse Finn Fennel. The next page features an article titled, Revival of the Null Army Revenge. Who is it for? Focusing on the game Violence Killer. This is highlighted as a 4-player battle game. The article mentions that it's published by Acclaim Japan, Gemzi, and priced at 7,800 yen. It also seems to be related to Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, as it is mentioned alongside. Screenshots of what appears to be gameplay from a first-person shooter are shown, emphasizing the deathmatch mode and suggesting using a high-resolution pack for better visuals. The article also briefly mentions the Null Army's interest in Magic the Gathering Portal 3 Kingdoms card game, and discusses collecting cards, trading, and related topics in the context of Portal 3 Kingdoms. This page features reader-submitted passwords for the baseball game GameCube Powerful Pro Yaku 5, including examples from submitters like Mitsuke Miyake from Kanagawa Prefecture and Masaki Takahashi from Miyagi Prefecture. There's also a section on Pokemon Stadium 2 discussing how players can obtain Pokemon after defeating gym leaders, and hints at secrets related to collecting all 150 Pokemon in the game, and includes cartoon illustrations of Pokemon and game screenshots. Finally, there's a section about reader postcards and future content. It mentions that reader postcards are still being received and discusses upcoming features including GameCube Stable and reader interest in Mother 3, including questions about its release. The page also provides the address for sending postcards to the magazine. This page is a manga strip titled Dream Drunker by, and it seems to be a humorous take on Mario Golf 64. The story shows Fox McCloud and Falco Lombardi observing Bowser getting angry while Mario is happily playing golf. Luigi and Waluigi are also present. Peach appears at the end, upset that she is always left out, and then enthusiastically joins in by jumping to hug Mario. This page features a Mario's Golf Lesson comic strip. In the comic, Peach asks Mario about golf, leading to Mario giving Bowser a lesson, much to Bowser's annoyance. Peach and Toad cheer Mario on. During the lesson, Bowser hits the golf ball, which ends up hitting him on the head. In the end, Bowser seems to have won, as Mario is depicted injured in bed being cared for by Peach. The text at the bottom mentions that Peach is featured due to popular request, and that Mario appears shy in her presence. The next issue will focus on the Koopa character, who has been silent recently. There are also sections titled Dream Drunker Dash and Hey Ho Illustration Competition Rate High, with images of Bowser, Koopa Troopa, Shy Guy, and Peach. The research article, Game Hardware Evolution, Is It Necessary?, explores the necessity of hardware advancements in the gaming industry. The article features opinions from various individuals. Some, like Mr. Rokuro, are enthusiastic about new technology, while others, like Mr. Sarno, focus on format stability, like DVD technology. The article also discusses software's importance. Mr. Fujiwara and Ms. Sugami highlight that cutting-edge hardware without compelling software leads to user dissatisfaction, referencing the Dreamcast and N64 launches. They emphasize that quality games, like Dr. Mario, The Legend of Zelda, and titles in the Mario franchise, are crucial. The article concludes that software must evolve alongside hardware, addressing the frustration when the two are not in sync. The article ends by speculating about the future of network functionality in games and NTT's role in it. This page highlights walkthroughs for 2 Nintendo 64 games. The top section features Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, showcasing artwork of the game's characters and mentioning a map walkthrough just before its release, starting on page 60. Below, the page features Mario Golf 64, advertising a thorough walkthrough part 2, starting on page 68, with screenshots of Mario, Luigi, Wario, Donkey Kong, and Boo playing golf. The page is from August 1999. This page is a preview for Ogre Battle 64. Person of lordly caliber, which is also known as Ogre Battle 64. Person of lordly caliber internationally for the Nintendo 64. It's highlighting the upcoming release and strategies for the first 5 stages of the game. The article introduces 2 main characters. Magnus Gallant, the protagonist, described as an elite officer and a new star of the revolution, and Dio Medina Lang, a comrade of the protagonist in the Southern Army, known for being cheerful and brave. The page details the game flow, starting with the map screen, where players move to their destination. Then, there's the organization screen for unit formation, which is frequently accessed. Following this is the field map where battles take place. Finally, events occur which progress the story, sometimes with choices for the player. The field screen flow section explains the gameplay loop. Victory conditions are displayed, missions start, units are dispatched, players give orders to units, and they move towards objectives. Battles are described as auto battles with limited player intervention, and victory leads to mission completion and story progression. The article emphasizes strategic elements like unit characteristics, terrain, and formations for efficient battles, mentioning that players can deploy up to 5 unit leaders and form units on the field. This page is about character selection in Ogre Battle 64. Person of lordly caliber. It details the Military Academy graduation ceremony choices, which is the game's initial setup process. You answer a series of questions, and your responses determine your starting units and parameters. The page shows tables of questions and answer choices, and how different answer combinations lead to different starting unit compositions. For example, depending on your answers, you could start with Fighter X5, Amazons X2, Fencer, and Beast Tamer, or other combinations of units like Knights and Witches, or Doll Masters and Sorceresses. The page also introduces key characters like Prince Amchurius of Palatinus, Baldwin Grendel from the Sacred Knights, and Anchises Gallant, the protagonist's father. It also features descriptions of deities such as Earth God Bursa, Water God Gruza, Wind God Harnella, and Flame God Zoshonal, highlighting their roles and associated elements like earth, water, wind, and fire, and how selecting a guardian deity impacts your character's attributes. The next page is a game guide for Ogre Battle 64. Person of lordly caliber. It's part of the prologue and covers 2 chapters. Chapter 1, Southern Border Region, sets the scene where Magnus is ordered to quell mountain bandits and demonic uprisings. The winning condition is to liberate the Teodric mining site, and the losing condition is the capture of the Zemio self-army base, or Magnus's death. The map highlights the route to the Teodric mining site, passing through locations like Molsusku Town, Pukanen, and Bodel. The boss of this chapter is Stubilo of the 10 Plagues, a level 34 berserker with a wyvern. The guide suggests focusing on point capture and proper unit formation. Chapter 2, Seeds of Fire, continues the story from Stubilo, where Magnus plans to rescue Prince Yumil from the Volmus mining site. The winning condition is rescuing Prince Yumil, and the losing condition is the capture of the Suakin self-army base, or Magnus's death. The map shows the route to Volmus mining site via locations like the town of Zela, Denise, Eldrit, and the industrial city of Ishiro. The boss is Wad, a level 6 beast tamer accompanied by hellhounds. The guide advises caution in the Suakin West area due to approaching enemies, and recommends prioritizing clerics and strong attack units against the hellhounds, as their attacks are powerful. It also mentions that defeating the boss triggers an event. The next page focuses on Chapter 3 of Ogre Battle 64. Person of lordly caliber, titled The Heavenly Knight Order. The page details the game's story, map, and battle mechanics for this chapter. The story section mentions the Liberation Army, rebellions, and the capture of Duke Zeno's son. The map shows the area, Baldra Dera no Machi, which is the Liberation Army's base, and the objective is to liberate Dewa Hato Iwa. The strategy section advises against direct attacks, suggesting flanking maneuvers, and highlighting the importance of healing items. The page introduces Leia Silvus, a new character joining the protagonist Magnus's unit from this chapter. She is described as coming from a noble family and having a strong competitive spirit. The boss section discusses the enemy unit, Effeminet's Succession, which includes 2 fighters, Effeminate and Amazons. It recommends targeting the commander to effectively defeat the unit, and notes that Effeminate is positioned in the back row as a magic user. This page is about Chapter 4 of Ogre Battle 64, Person of lordly caliber, titled The path to take escort Prince Yumil. It details the mission objectives, which are to liberate Burgund Castle, the enemy stronghold, and avoid defeat by preventing the capture of Dunkwald, your base, or the death of Magnus or Prince Yumil. The page suggests that in chapters 4 and 5, you should recruit Troa from Algoria first. It highlights that Prince Yumil joins as a guest unit and is quite strong, negating the need for excessive protection. The focus should be on quickly liberating enemy strongholds before Yumil reaches Burgund. The boss section mentions that enemies around levels 6 and 7 will appear, so your unit should be around level 6. The boss unit is Nocturne, a wizard using lightning magic, and is described as strong in direct attacks but weak to physical attacks. It is recommended to position Amazons in the rear and characters that can withstand attacks in the front for battle. The storyline section shows dialogue between Troa and Magnus, where Troa introduces herself and asks for help, and Magnus agrees to help her. The page also shows another scene where Yumil expresses his ambition to bring happiness to everyone in the world. This page is a game guide for Chapter 5, titled The Questioning One, the Southern Revolutionary Army of Ogre Battle 64, person of lordly caliber. It details a stage set near the Zenobia border and focuses on a southward advance of the Revolutionary Army. The page features a map outlining the stage, showing key locations such as Kariua Village, Lagourt Village, and the enemy base in Colonel Gorge. The storyline sets the scene, with the Revolutionary Army approaching Zenobia. To win this stage, you need to liberate the enemy base at Colonel Gorge, while losing means your own base in Esavera Town is captured. The guide mentions two routes, east and west, for progressing, suggesting the east route might be easier due to fewer enemy bases and units. It advises deploying strong units on the east route. The page introduces characters like Gilbert O'Brien and the boss for this stage, Klaus de Bonea, known as Gale de Bonea. De Bonea's attack is Slash, and the strategy suggested is to gather your units at Eel and Demhedro, recover, and then attack from both sides. Several in-game dialogue boxes are shown, featuring conversations between characters like Hugo, Magnus, Destin, and Debonair, hinting at the story unfolding in this chapter. This page is focused on explaining the class change system in Ogre Battle 64, person of lordly caliber. It visually presents the class evolution paths, starting from the initial soldier class. The page details how characters can change class based on certain conditions, progressing from basic classes like Fighter and Amazoness to more advanced and specialized classes, separated by gender. The system progresses from initial class soldier to basic classes, then to specialized and master classes. It highlights that soldiers are the starting point and can evolve into various roles such as fighters or Amazoness, depending on gender, leading to further specializations like knights, berserkers, paladins, and more. The page shows screenshots of the game interface and character art to illustrate the class change system. This page details 10 master classes in Ogre Battle 64, representing the pinnacle of character specialization. These advanced classes require meeting specific parameter conditions to unlock, granting access to powerful abilities. The classes include Black Knight, Armored Warrior, Dragon, Dragon Slayer, Enchanter, Golem/Puppet Manipulator, Ninja Master, Stealth and Elemental Magic, Beast Master, Beast Enhancer, Sword Master, Powerful Swordsman, Princess, Leader and Magic User, Diana, Master Archer, Freya, Divine Warrior, and Priest, Powerful Healer. Each master class offers unique combat roles and strategic advantages, enhancing the game's tactical depth. This page is a strategy guide for Mario Golf 64. It focuses on mastering shot techniques for different situations. Lesson 1 discusses the challenges of hitting shots on slopes, explaining how the ball's trajectory is affected by uphill and downhill lies, and suggests using the R button to check pin direction and adjust accordingly. Lesson 2 emphasizes using different clubs, highlighting the game's automatic club selection feature, but encouraging players to understand club choices for various situations, even suggesting unconventional club usage like using a driver for approach shots or using a 3W from the green edge like Tiger Woods sometimes does. There's also a mention of a club slot feature. The game info box confirms the title as Mario Golf 64, published by Nintendo, already on sale for 6,800 yen, categorized as a sports game for 1 to 4 players and compatible with both Rumble Pack and 64GB pack. This page is a guide focused on improving your golf skills in Mario Golf 64. It provides lessons on various techniques, including how to hit high and low shots by adjusting your shot position and using the Z button with the 3D stick. It also teaches putting secrets, emphasizing the importance of reading the green slope and trusting your line. Wind reading is another key lesson, advising players to adjust their club selection based on the wind strength. The guide further explains how to intentionally hit left and right curving shots by manipulating the power gauge and hitting point. Finally, it covers basic golf terminology, particularly about slopes and shot selection in those conditions. The page uses in-game screenshots with characters like Yoshi and Peach to illustrate these golf techniques within Mario Golf 64. The next page is a thorough strategy guide for the Luigi Garden course in Mario Golf on the N64. It details each of the 18 holes with screenshots and advice for completing them. The guide provides tips for each hole, such as aiming points, shot power suggestions like 30-meter shot or 60-meter shot, and using cushion shots or jump shots to navigate the course effectively and get a hole in one. It mentions different course types like Luigi Garden and Peach Castle, suggesting various challenges within Mario Golf. This page is a strategy guide for the ring shot mode in Mario Golf 64, released internationally as Mario Golf. It covers all 12 holes of courses 1 and 2, providing tips and strategies for each hole. Each section highlights a different hole and gives advice on how to navigate the ring challenges. The guide advises players to carefully consider wind conditions, club selection, and shot power to successfully hit through the rings and achieve par or better on each hole. It emphasizes the importance of accuracy in ring shot mode, as simply completing the hole within par is not enough to clear the challenge. Players must also hit through the rings. The guide offers specific advice for each hole, such as aiming points, club recommendations, and strategies for dealing with obstacles like water hazards and trees. It suggests using power shots and half shots depending on the hole's layout and ring placement, and mentions that some holes are easier with specific character abilities. The next page is a strategy guide for the Hey-Ho Desert course in Mario Golf 64 on the N64. It presents 18 holes, each with a screenshot of the course layout, PAR rating, and distance in yards. For each hole, there's a short description providing strategic advice on how to play it, mentioning things like aiming points, hazards like bunkers and trees, and distances to consider for shots. The overall tone suggests these are tips for players to improve their game on this particular desert-themed course. The next page is a thorough strategy guide for the Yoshi's Island course in Mario Golf 64. It details each of the 18 holes with overhead course maps, PAR information, and distances in yards. The guide gives advice on how to approach each hole, mentioning things like aiming points, bunker locations, and elevation changes. For example, hole 1 is PAR 4 and 350 yards, advising players to aim for the fairway around 200 yards or the flat area around 250 yards to the right. It suggests hitting 270 yards to reach the fairway bunker area. The guide continues with similar detailed tips for each hole, providing strategy advice to navigate the Yoshi's Island course effectively in Mario Golf 64. This page is dedicated to Mario Golf GB, highlighting the scenario mode, where players can create and customize their own characters. The game is described as easy to pick up and play, yet still offering deep golf gameplay. It mentions that the scenario mode allows you to choose one of 4 characters and customize their abilities and play style, influencing shot distance and ball trajectory. The page features screenshots showcasing gameplay and character customization options, including scenes of in-game golf action and menus for character development. It introduces 4 characters: Sherry, a talented 11-year-old girl specializing in putting; Kid, a 10-year-old boy known for his draw ball and distance; Azalea, a former track and field athlete in her late teens; and Joe, an 18-year-old boy whose rhythm from dance translates to golf victories. It also mentions the game is compatible with the 64 GB pack and is suitable for playing on the go, even during commutes, suggesting it's a great game for family enjoyment during summer. This N64 Q&A section addresses several inquiries. It corrects a previous error, confirming the CPU speed as 100 MHz. The system uses ROM cartridges, not CD-ROMs, because CD-RAM is read-only. The discussion touches upon cartridge sizes and memory capacity. Durability is covered, with advice on handling liquid spills. The potential future of portable gaming media is explored, with CD-ROMs considered unlikely due to size and DVD or GameCube-related portable systems mentioned. The need for multiple terminals on the AC adapter is explained by the console's requirement for 3.3 volts and 12 volts. Game status limits are explained in binary terms. A calculation shows Zelda: Ocarina of Time could fit approximately 20 times on one CD-ROM. Finally, the section humorously addresses the question of TV damage from gaming. This page discusses the excitement surrounding the N64, even with the announcement of new hardware, referring to the then upcoming console codenamed Dolphin. The article highlights the recent E3 show and the upcoming lineup of N64 games. Rare is mentioned as a key developer with games like Jet Force Gemini, a two-player co-op action shooter, Perfect Dark, a shooting game evolving from GoldenEye 007 with a great versus mode, and Donkey Kong 64, a goal-oriented game that's said to be more than just Mario 64, possibly with parody elements in its boss battles. Other games mentioned include Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, Excitebike 64, Super Mario Adventure, likely Paper Mario or Mario Story outside of Japan, and Kirby 64. It's also noted that Rare's 3 games are expected to be released sequentially, starting in August in America and continuing until the end of the year. The article suggests that while the Dolphins is on the horizon, the N64 still has a strong lineup of games to look forward to, including potential announcements for the 64DD. The reporter for this article is Yutaka Obuchi, born in Tokyo in 1968, and described as a knowledgeable networker, well-versed in both domestic and international games. This magazine page highlights Japanese fan impressions of 3 N64 games after the American E3. Readers share their experiences with Super Smash Bros., The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Super Mario 64. Super Smash Bros. Is praised for its lasting appeal and social fun. A reader anticipates Zelda: Ocarina of Time's challenging puzzles and wonders about its departure from traditional Zelda gameplay, highlighting the potential for future freedom. Super Mario 64, played for years, is celebrated for its accessibility, versatile gameplay, and freedom from strict objectives, making it a timeless toy that embodies Miyamoto's vision of fun. This page is the N64 forum section, featuring reader letters discussing the current state and future of the N64. Readers are expressing concerns about the timing of Nintendo's new hardware announcement, especially in light of the perceived failure of the 64DD. There's discussion around the strengths of the PlayStation 2 and its impact on the market. Some readers feel the N64 market is stagnating, pointing to a lack of RPG releases despite the console being out for 3 years. The letters suggest disappointment with the 64DD and question Nintendo's direction, especially compared to the rising popularity of the PS2. One letter writer expresses a desire for Nintendo to acknowledge the PS2 and directly compete, while another discusses the Tokyo Game Show and the underwhelming presentation of the 64DD. Overall, the tone reflects some anxiety about the N64's future and the competitive landscape with the PS2. This page is from the 64Dream Club section and features reader submissions. There's a big prediction article about Dolphin, Nintendo's next-generation console, discussing how Nintendo always forges its own path and what the Dolphin concept signifies. It speculates on the design and features of the new console, even mentioning possible color schemes and Dolphin imagery. There's also a section titled, What is Pokemon?, where they discuss Pokemon from Nintendo's perspective, noting that Pokemon isn't just treated as data and numbers, but as living creatures, emphasizing the Pokemon's wishes and Nintendo's careful handling of the franchise. It seems to suggest that Pokemon is more than just a game for Nintendo, it's something deeper. Then we have a review of the HoriPad Mini 64 controller, which is described as compact and easy to use even for adults. It highlights the placement of the left joystick for comfortable gameplay and emphasizes the Z triggers being on both sides for versatile shooting controls. The reviewer mentions the stick is quite soft and good for games in general, but perhaps a little too soft for shooting games. Finally, in the reader's survey section, readers are giving feedback. One reader wants to know how many 64Dream readers there are. Another wants more pages and game articles, but acknowledges that fewer pages might mean better game articles. Games mentioned in the reader feedback include JIKU Powerful Pro Yaku 6 and Super Smash Bros. The next page is about Dokudorankyan's Hideout Main Street Shopping Arcade, which seems to be a section discussing game-related topics in a lighthearted manner. There's a section where the shopping arcade meeting chairman recommends the Game Boy game Survival Kids, highlighting its interesting gameplay and multiple endings. The page also includes a feature on game collecting, advising readers to cherish games they personally enjoy, mentioning that many games are released monthly. It uses Famicom's Ice Climber as an example of a game that has become valuable over time, and touches upon collecting Virtual Boy and N64 software. Finally, there is a recommendation section titled, "This Month, I'm Buying This," featuring a game called Forest of Beginnings for the Nintendo Power cartridge system. It is described as a command selection adventure game with action sequences, set in a calm rural atmosphere with puzzles that are not too difficult, providing an enjoyable experience. This page presents an Akihabara price survey conducted on June 11th, detailing the market situation for games. It notes that finding good deals in Akihabara can be challenging due to the abundance of game stores. The article aims to guide readers on how to buy games efficiently and affordably, particularly focusing on popular titles and older, less mainstream games. It suggests visiting multiple stores to compare prices and emphasizes that prices fluctuate. The page then lists a vast collection of Nintendo 64 games with their prices and publishers, indicating both standard retail prices and the surveyed Akihabara prices. Notable games mentioned include The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64, F-Zero X, Wave Race 64, Star Fox 64, Donkey Kong 64, and many others, showcasing a wide range of genres from action and racing to RPG and puzzle games. These lists provide a snapshot of game availability and pricing in Akihabara at the time of the survey. In addition to game software, there's a section listing hardware prices for consoles like the Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, Super Famicom Jr., AV Famicom, Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, PlayStation, and WonderSwan. At the bottom, there are smaller sections. One is a self-praise presents section about a Game Boy game called Kaeru no Kane wa Naku, The Frog's Bell Rings, mentioning a contest and a giveaway. Another section, SFC Information Station Extension Edition, briefly discusses the Super Famicom software market and the Sut Hakun game, highlighting its puzzle gameplay and 120 stages. The next page showcases the Nintendo Power writable titles for Super Famicom, available from July 1st. It lists games categorized by genre, with details on their capacity, SRAM usage, developer, and price. Some of the Super Famicom titles highlighted include Super Donkey Kong 1, 2, and 3, Super Metroid, Clock Tower, Street Fighter II Turbo, Shin Megami Tensei, Dragon Slayer, Metal Max 2, Super Fire Pro Wrestling X Premium, Magical Drop 2, Power Odyssey Runner, Camel Try, Panel de Pon, Cosmo Gang the Puzzle, Dr. Mario, F-Zero, Puzzle Bobble, and Space Invaders. Below the game lists, there's a sales calendar for Super Famicom and Game Boy games as of June 8th, and release schedules for Game Boy games in June, July, and August. The page also mentions the Nintendo Power rewrite system for Super Famicom and Game Boy, highlighting its cartridge system and dot printer support. This page is an advertisement for the magazine's extensive 13-page coverage of the Electronic Entertainment Expo 99, direct from Los Angeles. The page features a large image of Mario and lists a huge number of games that were showcased at E3. Some of the highlighted games include titles like Donkey Kong 64, Jet Force Gemini, Rayman 2, The Great Escape, Ridge Racer 64, and Turok: Rage Wars, showcasing the breadth of games from sports to action and platformers that were present at the show. The report promises to bring readers all the exciting details from this major gaming event. Nintendo's E3 1999 booth in Los Angeles was a bustling hub, attracting companies globally and showcasing a vast software lineup. The booth, described as a treasure chest, highlighted both N64 and Game Boy Color titles. Game Boy Color software, particularly in America, was thriving, with anticipation building for potential Japanese releases after autumn. The article lists several Game Boy Color games, including Super Mario Bros. Deluxe and Pokemon Blue/Red. A Café Mario provided a space for business and relaxation for authorized personnel. A unique Game Boy Color hair salon offered quick hair dyeing services, which included one individual named Arakawa. The venue's location was about 30 minutes from downtown Los Angeles, and safety was a concern for attendees using public transport. A report from E399 highlights several anticipated N64 titles. Star Wars Episode 1. Racer generated significant buzz, particularly in America, with a large-screen, cockpit-style demo and a Japanese release date of July 21st. Pokémon was also a major draw, fueled by global popularity and the upcoming Gold and Silver versions. Nintendo showcased Super Mario RPG 2, Paper Mario, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, and Ridge Racer 64 on a giant screen. Kirby 64 had a unique controller-shaped booth, but surprised some with its 2.5D gameplay. Rare's lineup was heavily featured, with Donkey Kong 64, Jet Force Gemini, and Perfect Dark receiving considerable attention and substantial magazine coverage, including a Joanna Dark cosplay. The article spotlights the N64's extensive software lineup, highlighting the numerous games available, many showcased at E3. The article mentions 31 playable titles, including third-party offerings like Pokémon Snap and Super Smash Bros. Previews of several games are provided. Excitebike 64 is praised for its 3D visuals and course editor. Command & Conquer for N64 is described as a faithful port of the PC strategy game, featuring 3D battle scenes and exclusive content. Resident Evil 2 receives accolades for its graphics, superior to the PlayStation version, despite some cut content. StarCraft, though lacking network play, offers two-player split-screen battles. A comprehensive list of games exhibited at the Nintendo booth is included, showcasing the diverse range of titles planned for the N64. Upcoming Nintendo 64 software includes Eternal Darkness, a Resident Evil-style action-adventure game, and the new Tetris, featuring giant blocks and a 4-player mode. F1 World Grand Prix 2 promises improved graphics and realistic sounds, while RIQA is a 3D adventure with puzzle elements and a female protagonist. For Game Boy, the page recommends Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, a port of the NES Classic, and Conker's Pocket Tales, an action RPG similar to Zelda. The article also covers a Nintendo party held before E3. The event, at the Biltmore Hotel, had a more adult atmosphere than previous years. The author, from 64Dream, recounts their struggle to get into the party and their encounter with a Nintendo public relations representative, as well as celebrity sightings. Quote, "This page is an interview with Minoru Arakawa, the then president of Nintendo of America, discussing Nintendo's plans and successes in the American market, especially concerning Pokémon." Arakawa highlights the strong performance of the N64 console in America, exceeding 11 million units sold already. He talks about Nintendo's approach to E3, emphasizing that they focus on showcasing big titles like Pokémon, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, and Donkey Kong 64, rather than having a specific theme each year. The interview also delves into the massive Pokémon boom in America. Arakawa mentions the phenomenal sales of Pokémon games, with over 3 million copies of Pokémon titles sold, and the ongoing demand. He discusses marketing strategies, like magazine ads, and promotions at stores selling Pokémon cards. Notably, he mentions the Pokémon Snap sticker machines that will be installed in Blockbuster video rental stores across America, where for $3 you can take a photo in the game and get a sticker printout. The release plans are also touched upon, with Pokémon Yellow, Pokémon Pinball for Game Boy, and Pokémon Snap for N64, all mentioned as upcoming releases. Pokémon Stadium 2 is planned for release around October. The interviewer questions Arakawa about the Japanese game Zelda no Densetsu, Ocarina of Time, and its performance, to which Arakawa confirms it sold around 3 million copies. He also mentions that the anticipation for Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is very high, with pre-orders reaching 3 million units. An interview regarding the 64DD discusses its delayed Japanese release and the potential American launch, contingent on N64 console sales and the possibility of network gaming adoption. Mario Artist, a key 64DD title, is being considered for cartridge release, which would open the door for an American launch. The interview also touches on Nintendo's efforts to broaden its appeal beyond children, mentioning games like 007, sports titles, and Perfect Dark. Finally, brief mentions are made of Ridge Racer 64, Donkey Kong 64, and Jet Force Gemini, with impressions of the latter being slightly different from expectations, and a discussion about Donkey Kong 64's planned November release in America. An interview reveals early details about Nintendo's Dolphin console, GameCube. Development is being handled by Nintendo's Miyamoto and Rare's Stamper Groups. The console will utilize DVD media with technology from Matsushita, Panasonic, and is expected to be significantly more powerful than the PlayStation 2. The CPU, codenamed Gecko, is mentioned, alongside potential network capabilities. Disney games, including Mickey Mouse titles, are discussed, hinting at future collaborations. Development tools are still in progress, with an anticipated release around the end of the year. The targeted price range is between $250 and $300. The name Dolphin is a codename, and the final name is yet to be decided. This page is showcasing video game previews from NOA at an event. First up is Mario Artist, Picture Maker, a creative tool for the 64DD, described as simple drawing software but capable of polygon texture manipulation. It was playable at the booth, and the loading screen is shown. Next is Mario RPG 2, likely an early look at what became Paper Mario. This sequel boasts a completely new paper-like visual style, with familiar characters like Goombas and Kamek, who is seen flying on a broom. The preview highlights the unique visual style and the story elements. Following this is Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards, developed by HAL Iwata, described as a 3D action game with side-scrolling gameplay. The screenshots show Kirby in action, inhaling enemies and exploring various stages, including a snowy environment. Lastly, Ridge Racer 64 is featured, developed by NST, a company set up by NOA, under license from Namco. The preview emphasizes impressive drift mechanics and mentions its presence at E3, noting the Japanese release is anticipated. Overall, the page gives a sneak peek at upcoming N64 games, highlighting visual styles and gameplay mechanics. E3 showcased a surprising number of N64 games, especially from third-party developers, creating a lively atmosphere. Despite American popularity of sports titles, numerous were present. EA Sports even had a basketball court. Activision revealed Quake 2, A Bug's Life, and more. Acclaim presented WWF Attitude, NFL Quarterback Club 99, and others. Infogrames showed Duck Dodgers and Looney Tunes games. Interplay had Roadrunner 64 and Carmageddon 64. Capcom featured Resident Evil 2, while Crave presented Battlezone and Fighting Force 64. Kemco displayed Gex 3 and Top Gear titles. Koei showcased Winback, and Konami had Hybrid Heaven. The Sega booth focused on the Dreamcast but still displayed N64 games. The Sony booth demonstrated PlayStation 2 graphics. Screenshots included gameplay from Space Invaders 3D, an EA Sports basketball game, a fighting game at Sega, and a horror game demo. E3 showcased a strong presence from Japanese game companies, particularly highlighting their Nintendo 64 software. Numerous publishers were exhibiting, including Konami, Castlevania 64, NHL Blades of Steel 2000, Video System, F1 World Grand Prix, Harrier 2001, Ubisoft, Rayman 2, Tonic Trouble, and others. Several games were also mentioned from publishers like Titus, THQ, Monolith Soft, Lego, Red Storm Entertainment, and Rockstar. The article also notes the inclusion of Konami rhythm games and Capcom's Resident Evil 2. Game Boy software was also present, with Capcom displaying ports of classic titles. Many N64 games were compatible with the Hires pack, improving graphics. The E3 photo gallery showed booths for games like Harvest Moon 64, Lego Racers, and featured a giant Lego N64 controller. This page reports on Nintendo's E3 1999 presentation in Los Angeles. It starts with Peter Mackin giving a status report on the game industry, addressing concerns about violent content while highlighting the industry's significant growth, noting that over 40% of American homes have game consoles and huge software sales. The report then discusses the strong performance of the Game Boy, emphasizing its 15% market share and sales expectations of 6 million units for the year in America. It mentions that Game Boy Color is selling very well, and they anticipate releasing 50 titles for it, including dedicated software. The page then focuses on the second Interactive Achievement Awards, where N64 games swept the awards. Games like Banjo-Kazooie and The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time won awards in categories such as Action Game, Adventure Game, Interactive Design, and Software Engineering. Pokémon for Game Boy won in the Character/Story category. Shigeru Miyamoto is pictured receiving an award and reportedly expressed his desire to create educational games that could win awards in the future. The article concludes that N64 software dominated the awards, except in the racing game category, and highlighted Nintendo's strong presence at the event. Nintendo showcased its future plans, focusing on the upcoming GameCube, Dolphin. The event featured Star Wars Episode 1 racer promotion with actor Jake Lloyd. Nintendo chairman Howard Lincoln announced the Dolphin, emphasizing its power, broad appeal, and low price. IBM's John Kelly discussed the Gecko processor, highlighting its superior performance. The Dolphin's adoption of DVD-ROM was announced, with Matsushita, Panasonic, developing the drive. Disney games were confirmed for N64, Game Boy Color, and potentially Dolphin. The report also covered E3, noting the focus on business over software announcements and a comparison to the Tokyo Game Show. Finally, a humorous piece contrasted the ease of finding game stores in Japan versus the vastness of America. This page is a Q&A section with Nintendo's Honbu-san answering questions about the N64. The first question is about the N64's successor, codenamed Dolphin. The question asks for more details about the Dolphin project, as some readers felt it was too soon to talk about a successor when the N64 was just gaining momentum. Honbu-san acknowledges the opinions received and states that while it is still too early to reveal specific details about Dolphin, they understand the reader's interest and will share information when possible. The second question is about the collaboration between Matsushita, Panasonic, and Nintendo. The reader asks whether the initiative for this collaboration came from Matsushita or Nintendo. Honbu-san explains that Nintendo has been considering various options for next-generation software media and decided to adopt DVD technology. They approached Matsushita as they considered their DVD technology to be the best. Nintendo requested Matsushita to develop the CPU and graphic technology for their next console. Honbu-san emphasizes that this collaboration is about incorporating Matsushita's technology to create a console that will define the 2000s era, highlighting the competitive power resulting from this partnership. He also mentions the press conference held on May 12th at the Palace Hotel in Tokyo, where the Nintendo-Matsushita collaboration was officially announced. The N64's development codename, Dolphin, symbolized speed and smoothness. Though representing the project's core idea, it wasn't the final name. DVDs were considered for the N64 due to cost and copy protection benefits, as well as larger storage compared to CD-ROMs. However, cartridges were ultimately chosen. Nintendo denied any plans to exclude third-party developers, emphasizing their commitment to supporting them on future hardware, learning from past experiences with the N64 to foster better relationships. Finally, N64 software would not become obsolete due to the use of mask-ROM cartridges and the potential for adding chips, ensuring continued availability and potential for the platform's future. Quote, this page is a Q&A section with Nintendo answering fan questions. One question is about the E3 show, and the Nintendo representative mentions they did not attend but heard about the awards given to N64 and Game Boy software, listing games like GoldenEye 007, Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Donkey Kong, and Perfect Dark. Another question is about the release date of Pokémon Gold and Silver, which is now scheduled for September instead of summer, with an apology for the delay. The page also gives an update on N64 sales in Japan, reaching 4.36 million units by the end of March. Lastly, there is information about the Space World event in August, where Pokémon Gold and Silver will be playable, and there will be a Mew distribution for attendees, with free entry to the event, which will be held for 3 days. This page features a Q&A section addressing popular questions about Nintendo 64 games. One question asks about the total sales of Zelda, revealing that it has surpassed 7 million units worldwide, with overseas sales significantly outperforming Japan. Another question discusses the continued popularity of Smash Bros., Super Smash Bros., even half a year after its release, highlighting its appeal for multiplayer fun and how kids are constantly asking to play it, leading parents to purchase the game for their homes. The page also includes a character popularity ranking for Smash Bros. Listing characters like Kirby, Ness, Link, Captain Falcon, Pikachu, Samus, Luigi, Mario, Fox, Yoshi, and Donkey Kong, showcasing the fan favorites. Finally, there's a question about the upcoming Ogre Battle 64 CM commercial, confirming that it will start airing on June 26th. The commercial will utilize scenes from the pod race in Star Wars Episode 1, adapting the American commercial for the Japanese audience, and featuring the N64 controller moving to the theme music. The page also lists the top 5 best-selling N64 games both domestically in Japan and overseas. In Japan, Mario Kart 64 tops the chart, followed by Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Pokémon Stadium, and Yoshi's Story. Overseas, Super Mario 64 leads, with GoldenEye 007, Mario Kart 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Diddy Kong Racing, rounding out the top 5. This page is a Q&A section covering several Nintendo 64 games. In the first section, Mr. Hanjo discusses his skills in Mario Golf 64, stating he's quite good and enjoys playing daily, and especially playing against others, even in noisy multiplayer modes. The next question asks about the release schedule for Mario Golf 64 after Ogre Battle 64, revealing that Ogre Battle 64 is coming out on July 14th. Mario Golf 64's release date is set after that, followed by Jet Force Gemini, planned for August in America, and mentions high anticipation for Star Wars: Rogue Squadron. Another question asks about Nintendo's use of older actors in commercials, and the response notes the recent trend of using them, citing commercials for "Hey You, Pikachu!" and Pokemon Snap. It's mentioned that these actors bring impact to the short commercials, referencing a scene from the Mario Golf 64 commercial. Finally, a question is asked about the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie. The answer suggests a release within the current year is unlikely. It mentions Jet Force Gemini, Donkey Kong 64, and Perfect Dark as upcoming titles they are focusing on. Despite the delay, the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie is confirmed to be in development, and they estimate a release around November 21st. Noting that the original Banjo-Kazooie sold very well, over 3 million worldwide and 500,000 in Japan, indicating the sequel is inevitable. This page is a question and answer section focusing on N64-related questions. One question is about whether there will be any new Pokemon games for the N64 after the release of Pokemon Gold and Silver, and the answer indicates they are considering it, especially for games compatible with Pokemon Stadium. Another question asks about a packaged version of FE, and the answer explains that Fire Emblem was released as a SF memory cartridge title first, with a packaged version planned for later. Another question asks if there are fewer new Nintendo Power games, and the response discusses Hajimari no Mori, The Forest of Beginnings, describing it as a game with themes of environmental destruction and a relaxing gameplay style, similar to games from the Super Famicom era. Finally, there's a question regarding a Kyoto-themed park in N64 games, referencing an article in the Kyoto Shimbun, and suggesting the possibility of a Pokemon theme park concept in Kyoto related to N64. The page also includes a recruitment notice for the N64 question box, inviting readers to submit their questions about N64 hardware and software via mail or fax. This page announces the upcoming launch of the Internet service, provisional, for the Nintendo 64 and 64DD, starting on December 1st. It's explained as a membership-based network service utilizing the 64DD's capabilities. Question 1 clarifies that this Internet service is a communication service that uses the N64 and 64DD's write and rewrite functions. Question 2 focuses on FZEROX, stating that additional downloadable content will be available, taking advantage of the 64DD's large capacity. This includes ghost data and map data to enhance the game, referring to it as FZEROXDD provisional and FZEROX expansion kit. Question 3 answers that the service will begin on December 1st, with reservations expected from November, and it will likely be accessible through mail order. Question 4 details launch software, including Doshin the Giant One and Nintendo's Mario Artist series. Additionally mentioned are FZEROX expansion kit, Golf, and around 10 other titles, with promises of regularly released new software. Question 5 discusses communication and internet features, confirming online multiplayer for games like Mahjong, Shogi, Reversi, and a game tentatively titled Urban Street. The service will use telephone lines and even offer internet and email functionalities. It's designed to be user-friendly and secure, enabling services like ordering products from home, much like a convenience store terminal in your living room. The page includes images of the 64DD hardware and screenshots from FZEROX, showcasing course customization features. This Japanese magazine page provides updates on N64 and 64DD developments. A Q&A section addresses reader inquiries about upcoming titles. While Mother 3 and Mario RPG 2 for 64DD remain uncertain, the F-Zero-X expansion kit and Mario Artist series are still in development. The price of 64DD services is under adjustment. Services like information distribution, digital horse racing news, forums, and content creation tools are planned. Game analyst Heihachi Hirabayashi-san anticipates innovative online content for 64DD beyond standard online battles. The page also reports on the Next Generation World Hobby Fair. Held in June 1999, the event drew over 100,000 visitors. Nintendo's booth featured playable demos of Pocket Monster Gold/Silver, Tamagotchi 64, and announced Custom Robo, an RPG action game coming in autumn 1999. Donkey Kong 64 and Zelda Gaiden were also showcased. The next page delves into the exciting possibilities of DVD technology for gaming. Interviewing Mr. Nakamura Kenichi from Matsushita Electric, Panasonic, about this new media. The article highlights that next-generation consoles are expected to adopt DVD. The interview starts by explaining that DVDs are like supersized CD-ROMs, offering roughly 7 times the storage capacity thanks to their dual-layer structure. Interestingly, despite the advanced tech, the manufacturing costs are said to be quite reasonable, even cheaper than ROM cartridges in the long run and with quicker production times. Copyright protection for DVD games is a key topic, with the interviewee stating that it will be even stricter than movie DVDs and that Nintendo will ultimately decide the specific measures. There's even a hint about Panasonic potentially featuring Mario in their commercials, suggesting a close collaboration with Nintendo, maybe even integrating game functionality into Panasonic's DVD players and home theater systems as a value-added feature. Region locking for DVDs is mentioned as a potential issue for imported games. While Matsushita is confident in their DVD production capabilities and hardware expertise, they clearly defer to Nintendo when it comes to game software, emphasizing their trust in Nintendo's software prowess and focus. Portable DVD players are also briefly discussed as a possible avenue for gaming. The overall tone is optimistic about DVD's potential to enhance gaming experiences and its role in future consoles. This page features several sections. Firstly, there's a fun contest where you can guess the weight of a black watermelon for a chance to win a Hokkaido watermelon hunting trip, tied to a Bomberman explosive watermelon campaign, and prizes. The page also has a Link's Chibi Chibi Great Adventure comic strip, featuring Link from The Legend of Zelda, showing him drinking milk for health recovery. There's an advertisement for a rental campaign at TSUTAYA stores for the high-resolution pack-compatible N64 and the game Biohazard 2, also known as Resident Evil 2 internationally, highlighting the improved graphics and rental period until August 20th. Finally, there's news about Hirayama Agaya being the image girl for Farm Story GB2, which is Harvest Moon GB2 in English, with details of a production presentation press conference held on May 1st. Additionally, there is information on how to apply for the watermelon weight guessing contest, and an announcement for a Super Robot Wars Great Thanksgiving Festival event at ZEP Tokyo on August 20th, featuring quizzes and live performances. This page features SFC and GB News. On the SFC side, it introduces Famicom Bunko, Hajimari no Mori, which is an adventure game. The opening story describes a young boy visiting his grandparents in the countryside during summer vacation. He is supposed to meet his grandfather at the station, but he's not there. While looking for him, he encounters fireflies and gets lost in the mountains, leading to a meeting with a mysterious girl. The page then highlights GB2 Farm Story, GB2, a simulation game for the Game Boy Color, scheduled for release on August 6th, priced at 3,980 yen. It's described as a highly anticipated sequel to Farm Story, Harvest Moon GB. The game expands on the original with color support and more crops and animals to raise. New additions include flowers and herbs, making the farm more colorful. Mini-games like fishing are also mentioned, with the ability to print photos using a printer or trade fish with friends via a communication cable. The core gameplay remains focused on cultivating fields and raising crops, offering a power-up from the previous installment. This page is about the Game Boy and Game Boy Color game Marie and Ellie. It's based on the popular Marie's Atelier and Ellie's Atelier, PlayStation and Saturn games, but with a slightly different story. This version is an RPG focused on item synthesis. The game features characters Marie, Marilyn, and Ellie, Elfuriel, students from the Royal Magic Academy. In this game, fairies are the main focus. Players will raise fairies who will gather materials and fight monsters. A key feature is the ability to exchange items and images with other players using a communication cable. The game is set to be released in autumn 1999 by Imagineer. 4 upcoming Game Boy Color games are previewed. Wheatrix GB, a puzzle game similar to Wheatrix, is slated for release on August 27th. Beetle Brawler 2, an action game where players collect and raise beetles, is due July 15th. And features trading via cable or infrared. Pocket Lure Boy, a fishing RPG, launches July 23rd, allowing players to collect, raise, and trade fish, battling rivals. Golf King, a realistic golf game with 3 courses and 54 holes, is coming July 16th, including a tutorial mode and focusing on winning tournaments. All games have a price of roughly 4,000 yen. This page introduces 3 Game Boy Color games. First is Guru Guru Galaxy Ictors, an RPG by Atlas, scheduled for release on September 10th. It is about collecting Garakuta, which are junk items that transform into monsters. You play as a character from the Ghidorah Empire to save Puring World, traveling between the real and monster worlds to collect these items. Next is Kiseki Monogatari by Packensoft, scheduled for release on September 3rd. This dress-up story game is about improving your fashion sense as magical girl Marichan. You learn new fashions and participate in events like dates and seaside trips. There are over 190 fashion items to collect. Lastly is Hello Kitty's Beads Factory by Imagineer, scheduled for release on July 17th. This puzzle game involves collecting beads to create accessories. You solve puzzles by lining up beads of the same type. Completing stages reveals illustrations and movies of Hello Kitty, and you can even create stickers with a pocket printer. It also features communication battles with other players. The next page showcases Survival Kids, a Game Boy Color RPG adventure game. The page serves as a mini-guide, presenting gameplay tips for surviving on a deserted island. It details the game's premise, where you are shipwrecked and must survive. The guide is structured around 4 key steps: landing on the deserted island, exploring the beach to find useful items, securing food and water by foraging for fruits, mushrooms, and finding a water source, and finally ensuring a safe resting place, highlighting the importance of finding a secure house to avoid nighttime dangers. The page features screenshots of gameplay scenarios that illustrate these survival tips, and introduces the player characters, a boy named Kusai, and a girl named Nami, who players can choose as their protagonist. The next page is a guide on how to progress in a game, seemingly a survival adventure title, breaking down the steps into numbered sections. Section 5 explains how to make useful tools by combining items found on the island. It specifically mentions creating a fire starter tool by combining tree bark and tree stick. This tool allows cooking meat, fish, and shellfish, preserving food, and making a fire for safe sleep and to deter animals. Section 6 discusses expanding the player's activity range by crafting tools like an axe and sickle. These are used to explore caves and cut down trees, significantly broadening the exploration area. Finding materials for these tools is emphasized. Section 7 details the protagonist deciding to escape the island after hearing a radio broadcast about rescue efforts being canceled due to an approaching typhoon. They resolve to escape by raft as no help is coming. Section 8 covers repairing a house and building a raft using driftwood from the coast. More materials are needed for the raft. It also mentions finding a mysterious jewel while chopping down trees inland. Section 9 is about finally escaping the island with the completed raft. It mentions the long journey home, the need to prepare food and water, and the urgency to leave quickly due to a potential earthquake. Players are advised to pack provisions in a rucksack for the escape. This page is showcasing a fan art section called Illustration Grand Hall. At the top, there's a header for Go Forth, Mario Bodyguards, with an image of Mario and a child watering plants, alongside text discussing summer plans and encouraging illustration submissions. Now, the main part of the page is filled with fan-submitted illustrations themed around Nintendo 64 games. One image depicts characters from Mario Golf 64, with a unique art style focused on a female golfer surrounded by comical Mario characters. Another illustration is based on Evangelion, showcasing characters from the anime. Moving on, there's artwork inspired by The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, featuring Link playing his ocarina with a volcano in the background, and another Ocarina of Time illustration shows Link in a cave setting with a fairy. Super Smash Bros. Is also represented, with a colorful and busy scene of various characters. There are more Zelda-related pieces, including a detailed portrait of Link. Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, also gets a feature with artwork of its characters. Lastly, there's fan art of Doshin the Giant, depicting the game's distinctive yellow giant character, and 2 illustrations of original characters, or potentially from less-known games. One shows a green-haired elf, and the other is an older character in a Japanese headband. This page features fan-submitted artwork and letters centered around Nintendo 64 games, organized by theme. The Memories section highlights nostalgic experiences. Fans recall emotional endings from Pokémon, Super Mario 64, and Star Fox 64, as well as specific gameplay moments like frustrating game overs in The Legend of Zelda and summer vacations spent playing Metroid. Favorite character showcases fan art, including scenes from Kirby's Dream Land 3, Star Fox 64, The Legend of Zelda, and artwork inspired by the Gaijin Sensen series. Additional sections include illustration fan letters, and artwork by children. The upcoming fan art theme will focus on Ogre Battle. This page is a collection of fan art submissions, each focused on different Nintendo 64 games. There's artwork related to what seems to be Bomberman 64 2, with a character named Lucifels featured. Another piece is related to Earthbound 64, mentioning its development and planned release. There's also a submission with a character resembling Yuffie from Final Fantasy V 2, although that game wasn't on N64. Moving on, Star Fox 64 is represented with artwork of Wolf and Fox in a cockpit, with the artist expressing a wish for Wolf to be in Smash Bros. Several submissions feature The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, including one based on the Famicom Zelda style, another with Link facing the boss Aquamentus. Fire Emblem 64 is also popular, with drawings of characters like Corrin, a dragon knight named Arutea, and another character simply called Arute Na. One artwork mentions a dual, Sea Firefighter within Fire Emblem. Pokemon Stadium appears with a drawing featuring Meryl and Meowth. Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards is depicted with Kirby and Gooey, alongside a mention of Tactics Ogre 64. There are also some more obscure or possibly original creations. One is a pixel art style image and text referencing something called Boy, and another features a small character named Teeny. Finally, there's a request illustration from a fan letter featuring characters likely named Marin, and a piece described as being in a dot painting style. This page showcases reader submissions for the Mario Pro Guards section, highlighting creative fan content. It features 4 humorous 4-panel manga strips. The first manga, titled Mountain Pass, Heihei Hosan, from Yamaguchi Prefecture, depicts a snowy scene with penguins, a frightened Mario encountering an angry King Bob-omb and Bowser. The second manga, Saturn Valley Earth Peoplezan, from Chiba Prefecture, humorously presents Mr. Saturn and Mario, with a girl reacting to their presence. The third manga, Costume Play King of Monsters, from Hyogo Prefecture, features a shy guy in a quirky costume, evoking a retro game vibe. Lastly, HAI from Tottori Prefecture, shows a shy guy with a hole in his mask, presented as a new discovery. The Beautiful Forms section displays an illustration from Yamagata Prefecture, titled 3D Stick, featuring a drawing of a Nintendo 64 controller stick with Bowser's face, referencing Super Mario 64. This month's special winner section acknowledges readers who have achieved different ranks, implying a contest or ranking system based on submissions. The illustration contest section is a call for reader submissions of color illustrations and 4-panel manga for potential prizes and publication, providing submission guidelines and deadlines. This page is showcasing secret cheat codes for the game Turok: Dinosaur Hunter. The section is called Dream Palace and is part of the Doreteku Corner, which focuses on dream techniques or secret tips and tricks. This particular article, titled Violent Killer Turok New Generation, reveals secret codes for various modes in the game. The page lists modes such as Big Head Mode, Little Mode, Big Hand Foot Mode, Stick Mode, Ink Pen Mode, Rough Texture Mode, Life Babyface Mode, Dark City Mode, and Rainbow Mode. Each mode has a corresponding cheat code and effect described, like UBERNOODLE for Big Head Mode, making enemy heads larger, or Foot Stripe for Rainbow Mode, turning the stage rainbow-colored. The article highlights these fun secret codes players can use in Turok: Dinosaur Hunter. This page showcases N64 game tips within the Dream Technique Hall of Fame section. The first game highlighted is Last Legion UX. This section details how to unlock hidden stages and bomber machines. To encounter the metal bombers, you must clear story mode stages and collect 4 medals. Then clear stage 10 with a machine that doesn't hold a medal. This unlocks the Wire Gauze stage, where you can battle metal bombers. To fight Bon Baron, you need to collect 5 medals and clear stages with a machine that doesn't hold medals, again unlocking a stage to fight Bon Baron. The article mentions that only 1 medal can be obtained per machine, and using the same character repeatedly is pointless, encouraging players to try different machines. Next, The page moves on to Mario Golf 64. The article is titled, Character Get and Replay, and Eternal Rival Koopa Appears. It suggests starting the Character Get mode in Mario Golf 64 to obtain new characters. If you make a mistake, you can restart from the beginning by selecting Do-Over from the pause menu. The second Mario Golf 64 section focuses on defeating Bowser. It mentions that Bowser is strong, especially with powerful 300-yard power shots. The advice is to use the left side dream technique, which is effective against Bowser, implying a strategy to use against him in the game. This page is packed with tips and tricks for various N64 games. For Last Legion UX, there are secrets to unlock hidden characters and weapons like the Pico Pico Hammer. To access these, you need to hold L and R buttons on the title screen and rotate the 3D stick clockwise. Another trick for Last Legion UX lets you make your selected character strike poses on the machine select screen simply by pressing the R and Z buttons. Pokemon Stadium 2 has a handy feature where you can check a Pokemon status right on the selection screen by pressing the R button. There's also a hidden mode in Pokemon Stadium 2 that can be accessed, although the specifics require selecting certain Pokemon first. For what seems to be Kirby's Dream Land 3, there's a description of Kirby's inhale ability during attacks, highlighting the struggle when an opponent gets sucked in and tries to resist. In Shokukan Knight Pro Yaku King 2, when you're playing Create a Player mode and distributing ability points, you might hear advice from a rival. The Z plus cleft buttons can be used to reset the stat values, which is referred to as value reset. Finally, there's a mention of a frustrating situation in a one-player game, where you might find yourself failing right at the start, spinning and falling from the initial platform without doing anything wrong, asking, why am I failing? This page offers gaming tips for various consoles. For Top Gear Overdrive, N64, it reveals how to unlock the Tacos car and Roba's horse cart by placing 4th or better in all special season courses using the N-Cube machine. In 64 Gran Sumo 2, N64, a hidden mode is unlocked by inputting a specific button sequence after story mode completion. For Game Boy Color, Please Monsters Bait Distribution Map is viewable via a picture in your room. Cardcaptor Sakura, GBC. Time can be manipulated by saving, restarting, and adjusting the system clock. Finally, for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, N64, defeating a Re-Dead in Hyrule Castletown temporarily stuns others nearby. The page also solicits reader submissions for game tips, offering prizes based on submission quality, and provides submission instructions and contact details. This N64 software catalog previews upcoming RPG and action titles. The RPG section highlights several games, including Mother 3, a Nintendo RPG with a moving story, Super Mario RPG 2 featuring a paper-thin Mario and action gameplay, L-Tail Monsters, a beginner-friendly RPG focused on monster raising, Hybrid Heaven, a Konami RPG set in a cyber world with a battle mode, and Robot Pankatsu 64, a robot raising RPG with Game Boy connectivity. The action section features Donkey Kong 64, a 3D action game similar to Banjo-Kazooie and Super Mario 64, Conker's Quest, an N64 title from Rareware to be shown at a future E3, Kirby 64 featuring 3D Kirby gameplay, and Super Mario 64 2 speculated to be a launch title for the upcoming Dolphin GameCube console. The new soft catalog in 64Dream magazine previews several upcoming N64 games. Key titles include The Legend of Zelda DD Provisional, a 64DD title possibly releasing this year, and Winback, a Koei shooter with improved features launching October 1, 1999. Bomberman Hero 2, from Hudson, promises fun gameplay with helper characters and both story and battle modes. Neon Genesis Evangelion from Bandai and Gainax is due June 25, 1999. Also highlighted are Tonic Trouble from Ubisoft, a French-like action game, and the realistic fighting game Flying Dragon's Fist Stadium Real Version, Provisional, by Culture Brain. Other titles include Fighting Transmission F-Cup Maniacs, Resident Evil 2, Shadowgate 64, SimCity 64, The Mysterious Cabbage, Provisional, and Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, releasing on July 14, 1999. Upcoming and recently released N64 games include a variety of genres. Tommy's Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Another dimension is a flight simulator. Hudson's 64 Wars is a strategy game with Game Boy Link functionality. Bandai's PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64 is a puzzle game with Game Boy data import. Video System is developing a flight simulator, possibly Harrier 2001. Banpresto offers Lode Runner 3D, a 3D puzzle game. Culture Brain is working on Frightening Tama Rantaro Challenge Puzzle 64, another 3D puzzle game based on an anime. Nintendo is developing Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, a shooting game, and a secretive golf game. Konami presents International Superstar Soccer 99 with a new success mode. Asmic Ace Entertainment has Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, Royal Road Succession, a wrestling game. Culture Brain also offers Ultra Baseball Real Name Edition 64. Finally, Ultron has 64 Hanafuda. Angel's Promise, a Hanafuda card game. Upcoming N64 and 64DD titles include a diverse range of genres. Pro Guidance Yan Hao Soldier is a mahjong game. Racing. Racing games include On and Off Racing, Rev Limit, Wipeout 64, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, and Rally 99. The 64DD will see the release of FZEROXDD, provisional, allowing for custom course creation. The Mario Artist series for the 64DD will feature Picture Maker, Polygon Maker, Talent Maker, and Sound Maker, offering drawing, 3D CG creation, character design, and music composition, with data exchange between titles. Densha de Go 64, a train driving simulator, is also expected. This article previews 3 upcoming games and a game terminology glossary. The first is Jisen Pachisuro Hishuhao, a pachinko and slot machine simulator from Sammy, designed for practice. Details are limited, with development ongoing. Next, Dubutsu Banchao, Kari, or Animal Leader, by Saru Brune, Marigold Project, is speculated about, with more information expected at Nintendo Space World. Finally, Kyojin no Doshin 1, also from Saru Brune, is an Age of Gods South Sea-style game set on Baruto Island, utilizing the 64DD's writable disk technology for dynamic gameplay. The article concludes with Game Basic Terminology Volume 2, a glossary explaining common game terms from A to Ta, offering definitions and examples for industry jargon. This page is from the Capcom Fan Club section and is an E3 Capcom report. It highlights Capcom's presence at the E3 show. The feature focuses on the upcoming Biohazard 64, which is the Japanese name for Resident Evil on the N64, and reveals it will have a massive 512 megabit capacity, double the size of Zelda 64. The page includes user feedback comments on various Capcom titles like Vampire, likely Darkstalkers, Capcom fighting games, Rockman, Mega Man, and Biohazard, Resident Evil. There are screenshots from games such as 1942, Ghost and Goblins, Magical Tetris Challenge, and Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dreams, and also showcases the Japanese packaging for Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2 on the N64. A Capcom game ranking lists popular series with points given to Biohazard, Resident Evil, Darkstalkers, Rockman, Mega Man, Street Fighter 2, and Vampire, Darkstalkers series. The Cheeky Cheeky Postcard Corner mentions games announced in America and focuses on the anticipation for Biohazard 64 as the top game. This page is an advertisement for the Japan Game of the Year 1999 awards, calling for readers to vote for their best titles released between April 1998 and March 1999. The awards include categories like Grand Prix, Freshness, Visual, and Sound. Prizes for participants include an Apple iMac, a Shay RP Communication Pal, a SONY MD Walkman, a Case IO Petit Cot digital camera, and toy gift certificates. The advertisement includes logos of various gaming magazines involved in the event. It provides details on how to apply and vote in the awards, along with a ballot paper template and example of how to fill it out. This page is showcasing the nominees for the Japan Game of the Year 1999 awards. It's a huge list of 120 games across various platforms, including PlayStation, Saturn, N64, Dreamcast, Game Boy, and WonderSwan. Readers could vote for their favorites from this selection. Some notable N64 games on the list include F-Zero X, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Mario Party, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Card GB, and Dobutsu no Mori, which was later released internationally as Animal Crossing. There's a wide range of genres represented, from action and RPGs to sports and puzzle games, reflecting the popular titles from that year. This page showcases a reader's giveaway named The Narrated Dream by 64Dream magazine. The prizes are Nintendo and game-related items and magazine publications. The top prize is a Nintendo 64 console, followed by a gold N64 console. There are also Game Boy Color prizes available, including a special Pokémon 3rd Anniversary Edition. Controller Lab Bros are also listed as a prize, likely referring to various colored N64 controllers. Signed magazines are also prizes, with editions of 64Dream, signed by Howard Lincoln, Aragakawa, and Ken Lobb, as well as signed Nintendo Power magazines by Aragakawa. E3 goods and an E3 cap are also listed, along with HoriPad Mini 64 controllers. Game-related software is also featured as prizes with Last Bible for the Game Boy. A 20th Century Fox commemorative bag is also listed, likely related to a movie tie-in at the time. This page features a reader survey for the 64Dream magazine, asking readers about their opinions on the current issue's cover, articles, and content. The survey asks readers to select their favorite and least favorite articles from a provided list of features, which includes things like a special Evangelion poster, new N64 software calendars, game rankings, and specific game articles. The survey also inquires about desired talents for 64DD TV commercials, asking for both male and female talent suggestions. There is also a question about readers' favorite or most impressive game TV commercials, and which N64 software they are currently interested in, from a listed table of upcoming titles. Finally, it asks what N64 software readers currently own. Below the survey is a section announcing the winners of the 64Dream June issue presents, listing names and prefectures of winners across various prize categories, including Nintendo 64, Controller Pack, Rumble Pack, GB Pocket Pokémon 3rd Anniversary Edition, GB Color, iMac, GB Color, and HoriPad Mini 64. On the right side is an article titled Aunt Kato's Perspective, which appears to be a column discussing a dream about being chased and trapped, relating it metaphorically to the anxieties of deadlines and work pressures in magazine production, mentioning the feeling of being on fire with work. It also references the game Lizardin, likely Charizard, and its firepower in the context of escaping these pressures. Screenshots of what appears to be gameplay of Lizardin are also shown. This page is an announcement for the September issue of the magazine, scheduled for release on July 21st for 490 yen. The next menu section teases the content of the next issue, celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the N64 and highlighting upcoming game information for titles such as Ogre Battle Gaiden, EVA, Burst, Episode Racer, and news related to FE, likely Fire Emblem. The editor's voice section discusses topics like Pokemon Stadium, 2 original telecards, the Hanshin Tigers baseball team, and the portable Sangokushi game, mentioning a Three Kingdoms boom. A staff section lists the magazine's personnel in various roles. Contact information for inquiries and back issues is also provided at the bottom, along with a small image of the magazine cover and a manga illustration featuring Mario and Yoshi. This page is an advertisement for Mario Golf 64, which highlights the game's charming presentation and authentic gameplay. It mentions the deep courses crafted with exquisite layouts that offer a sense of vastness and atmosphere unique to the N64. The game boasts easy controls for comfortable play, yet packed with depth for dedicated players. It also notes the variety of modes appealing to both casual and hardcore golf fans, including putt golf and speed golf. Finally, it emphasizes the multiplayer fun for up to 4 players, with modes like Match Play and Skins Match, and even a club slot feature to add excitement to club selection. The game was on sale for 6,800 yen. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Violence Killer Turok New Generation, which is known as Turok 2 Seeds of Evil internationally. It's highlighted as Gemsy's first software release and is currently on sale. The advert emphasizes the game's high-spec compatibility, realism, and upgraded version, describing it as a survival shooting action game that pushes players to their limits with terror. The advertisement includes screenshots of gameplay and mentions a price of 7,800 yen, excluding tax. On the side, it mentions that this is from the August issue of 64Dream magazine, which is packed with monthly information and features content like a special Evangelion poster and a report from E3 Los Angeles.